Hey there, people. It's Mark Lamat. Now, I would usually be a happy and cheery type of guy during my YouTube uploads. But the only thing in particular about this YouTube video is that this marks my very first rant video on my channel. Now, if you haven't all noticed, I am a huge fan of Street Fighter. I love almost every single game in the franchise except for Street Fighter 4. You know, it being kind of a lackluster, being kind of a lackluster game. But the reason why I'm talking about Street Fighter today is because I saw this report on this news blog or whatever you want to call it, called CBC News. Now, they talked about Capcom's presentation at E3, saying that, they were talking about Street Fighter 5. And I said, a news company talking about Street Fighter 5. What can they possibly talk about? So, since that the game is still in beta state, some fans were outraged at the fact that Chun-Li had this awkward breast motion when second player, chose her. Now, in some ways I can see, okay, maybe the motion was a bit, awkward and, not needed in some ways. Like, it was a bit, over-exaggerated. But, in a way, some people just took it to, this whole big level. One of the developers of Street Fighter 5 noted Chun-Li's breast motion as just a glitch. Glitches do happen. After all, this is, the game is still in beta. So glitches will happen. It's just the only thing, people just don't understand that fact. Like, no! Your freaking, chest is flying everywhere and shit, even though this is the only portion of the game that you see it like this, because when you see other gameplay videos of freaking Street Fighter 5, you don't see any of that shit. So, why complain about it now? And the producer said that in the final product of the game, that they will fix it. And people still sit here being a bunch of idiots and just sitting down saying, oh no, Capcom, you're hitting at an all-time low. You've never made characters in fighting games that, look like this. Women with, big chest or, seductiveness or anything like that. No, Capcom, you've never done that. It just boggles the mind. The game is not even an alpha yet, but people have the nerve of the bitch already. Now, I find this appealing because so many other fighting games, well known and lesser known, have been doing this type of thing for years. Out in the open, and everyone just sat down and just let it slip by. Now, what games, you may ask? People just, these games make it painfully obvious how they're making the characters look. The women with, the big, big breasts and everything like that. To be honest, anime, music videos, movies, all that shit does it, but no one, turns an eye to that. They just sweep under the rug and just be like, no. Just push it away. Now, what games am I going to talk about exactly? Well, let us, get the obvious games out of the way first. We're talking about games such as Darkstalkers, Dead or Alive, all of them. We're talking about King of Fighters. Hell, I'll even go even further, Guilty Gear and Arcana Hearts. All of these games always incorporate women with huge tits and all that shit. But everyone is just like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, it's just, you know, the company just does that, so what do you expect? But if Capcom does it once because they're trying to make their characters look more realistic and make their characters look like they've aged, it's like, oh no, her chest shook twice. Oh my god. Honestly, man, that's just freaking ridiculous. Now, here with me today is a special guest of mine. He was featured in some of my older videos, but he decided to join me in this rant. A good friend of mine named Kidbuu439 has joined me in this rant. Now, Kidbuu, you being a guy, who plays fighting games for most of his life, mostly fighting games, what do you think of this little controversy or whatever you want to call this shit?
Well, to be honest, I mean, video games have been getting trashed on since forever due to either violence or over sexuality. But when this happens in movies and TV shows, this is not really even presented. And I feel that video games get a bad rap. When I was watching E3, I was like, there was a problem with Street Fighter 5 where people was calling it too slow. They were saying it's the same pace as Street Fighter 4. And I'm saying it looks perfectly fine, and even they were saying when you attack it's completely different. But then to make a statement, oh, just because a woman's boob jiggle in a over exaggerated way, we have to say something about it, I feel is wrong. And like, why is that even a problem? I mean, just look at all these games that you mentioned that have breast physics. I mean, DOA has a freaking Easter egg where you put your age at 99 in DOA 4 and the breast jiggle more, but feminists don't talk about that. Or anime shows where you have women breasts out of proportion and they don't complain about that, and they cannot use the same excuse where Japan has their own legalized abilities to do that, because what is Capcom? A Japanese company. They may have Capcom USA, but it originally started as Capcom Japan, where the original Street Fighter was made in Japan and was in Japanese and then converted to American. And again, it's just controversy over controversy. First we had hatred with the violence, and now we have homosexuality with jiggle boobs. Like, come on. And these feminists just complain about anything. Really, they complain about anything. Any drop of a pin, they just want to complain. And I feel it's garbage. And they shouldn't measure a game by its sexuality. They should measure a game about its fighting mechanics, its physics.
That's why DOA was such a good game.
Reason why DOA was a good game, right? And you know, it's just, if you focus on the wrong things, you know, you're just gonna have like, nothing is gonna be out there. Like, who cares if you over sexualize your characters? I mean, look at her fighting style of ninjutsu is sexuality. It's just fighting to distract her opponent. And just because boobs jiggled a little too much, wow, that is, I just feel like it's a stupid argument. Like, there was so much good stuff about the game, and there was some bad stuff, but this is what you complain about when Capcom actually is doing something right. I mean, hey, where the Mega Man S? Where are they at? Alright, they're not complaining. I don't feel feminists should be complaining about this too. So I'm gonna bring it back to my man, Mark Lamette, to finish us up, and I'll probably do a few touches from there. Actually, I have one question. What do you feel about the feminists on controversy of video games, and PETA on that too, and just any other company that attacks video games?
Well, personally, to the whole feminist attacking video game characters, I find that, okay, look, well, not to be going into too much controversial territory here, but I feel it's just childish. First of all, oh no, in Super Smash Bros. 4, Samus has heels, making her super over-sexualized. Or no, she has bigger boobs. If you played some of the older Metroid games, and if you played Smash Brawl, first of all, her breasts are the same size they were before. And number two, those are clearly dash boots.
But nobody complains about Shulk being fighting in underwear still.
Oh yeah, we don't forget about freaking Shulk, freaking manly man over here, fighting in nothing. No shirt, no pants, just flip-flops, and freaking briefs. We don't complain about Shulk doing that shit. We don't complain about Palutena pole dancing as her down tilt. I mean, as her freaking down taunt. And then they have the nerve to complain about Bayonetta, a character who's supposed to be sexy. The reason why Bayonetta is the way she is not because, oh, she's just a female Dante, but because, that defines Bayonetta. She's a strong, independent character. Same thing with Faith and Mirror's Edge. Even though, some people complained that, Japanese fans complained that her boobs weren't big enough, which is fucking stupid, in my opinion. But the whole thing is that it defined her character. They just didn't do, oh no, we're gonna give this character like just big old tits. Because, we all like characters with big old tits, right? Why have an actually good character, that's badass, shows women empowerment and all that shit, when we can just have a character with big tits? Yeah, right? That'd make the world go round. Just saying. Like that would like make everything so much better. But the whole thing is that people just don't understand is instead of, okay, look, Capcom even said to the people in their faces, we will fix this problem when the final product comes out. This is only June, people. We're only in June. The game comes out March of 2015. So why complain 16? And why complain about the game now when it's in its starting stages? Okay, well, Ryu's animations aren't even entirely done yet. Now, I sound stupid for saying that considering all the gameplay footage you see, but no one complained about Cammy. That's another side note. No one complains about the racial stereotype known as Birdie. You see, no one complains about obvious racism in fighting games, No one complains about, the horrible stereotyped characters. But no, if we complain about character having jiggling tits and all that stuff, anime does that shit all the time, as we explained before.
I just have to say one thing, right? So basically, you know how breast mechanics basically. So let's just say you see two girls fighting, right? Let's just say UFC, right? You have women division now. You have Ronda Rousey, she could fight like Sarah McMahon. In real life, their boobs jiggle when they exercise. When girls exercise or jump or fight or something, their boobs jiggle. So if games are trying to be more realistic now, wouldn't you rather have a girl's boobs who jiggle and try to be more afferent? Alright, if you go a little bit overboard, it's cool as long as you're not showing the whole breast. As long as her bare breast is not out.
Oh, and going back to DOA, we can't forget the fact that we literally had costumes where the girls had nothing but strings. They were basically naked in a fighting game, a next-gen, current-gen fighting game, and people don't complain about that. And some people sat down and paid for the goddamn DLC just to have more sexualized costumes, making the characters look like sluts. You see, the original DOAs had some, they were great games, but then over time they just focused on making the characters look even more slutty. So, here's the whole thing. Now, not to sound too much of a quote-unquote fanboy, and people who use, as I said before, I know I said the word fucking idiot to the point you could use a drinking game out of it, but you can't, you can't exactly say, oh no, being a fanboy, because a fanboy excuse is a horrible fucking excuse. So basically, as me being a fan of fighting games, period, and many other games, Street Fighter, it's no secret, it's a very iconic fighting game. If anything, it's one of the games that helped spark, later fighting games. So, it's not exactly a rant about hating on feminists or anything like that, even though I could admit them complaining about video game characters that are supposed to be the way they are is a little excessive, even though you should be complaining about actual video game characters that actually portray women that way, and should be complaining about media and magazines and movies and music videos, like how Nicki Minaj tells women that a man will never love them unless they have a big butt, just saying. But that's just all besides the point. At the end of the day, we can't act as if Capcom did something unforgivable and just wrong because as Kidbuu said before, they're just trying to bring their game into the next generation, and they're still working with it.
And a few last words on it is that number one, sex sells. Number two, even though sex sells, as long as you just entertain everybody in every category, whether it's mechanics, visuals, sexuality, or any of that, or even just comedy, the game will sell. And the final thoughts on the game itself from what we saw on E3 and some of the updates. Agreeing with Angry Joe, I feel like Sony, like Capcom, could have made the game for both platforms without Sony's money, and it could have been for both platforms. But hinting to the game itself, it looks crisp. It looks very nice, visually entertaining. Like, I can't find anybody that says it's not visually entertaining. They put in characters that we want to see. I mean, they're doing good so far. Capcom always finds a way to mess up. But you know what? We're going to be optimistic, and hopefully the game goes good. And Kidbuu is going to be signing out, and I'm going to leave it to my man, Mark Lamette, to close us out. Here you go, Mark.
All right. Thank you for your input there. So, as I said to close out, and yes, this has been going on for quite some time, but hey, what do you expect from a rant video? You know what I mean? We can't all sit here and pretend just pointing fingers at a game would make the world so much better. This, video games, if you think of it, is like a piece of art. If an artist decides to draw a naked woman, and yes, millions, billions of artists always draw naked women and all that stuff, you can't just sit there and call them sexist because they want to draw those characters. They just want to add like a more it ain't no thing type of thing to reality. Now, you can say your thoughts and your comments in the comment section below, but as long as they're constructive, not just, oh, you guys don't know what you're fucking talking about. Well, unlike most people who do these little rant videos, at least we know a fair knowledge of every single game that we have mentioned. At least we try to back up our statements with legitimate stuff. So, anyway, now for those of you, when I kept saying, as I said before, you can make a drinking game out of fucking idiot. Now, I'm not calling you, the viewer, or anyone else out there, fucking idiots. I'm just trying to say that sometimes people should realize that things just aren't that serious. You shouldn't build up this huge, controversy over just the way a character is. I understand maybe the reason why people are angry is because Chun-Li, along with being iconic in Street Fighter, is a fan favorite character. I understand that, but it's only the beginning, guys. It'll get better. As you saw the fighting game footage of Street Fighter V, as Kidbuu said before, it looks phenomenal. So, we'll just have to wait and see until the final product. By then, Capcom should be able to fix the problems that people stressed, and then the game will be a lot better as an end result. So, jeez, running over the limit here. I would have to say that's all I have to say for that. So, as usual, I am Mark Lamont, and I will see you all later. Also, expect a new animation video from me later this week, if possible. Maybe this week, maybe next week. Just wait.